So we're in step two. This is the step peer review concept notes. So step two is the review of the submitted concept. This step is quite important. The main people here is peer reviewers. The main objective is to enhance a concept note by providing advice, comments, inputs, information based on the peer reviewer's expertise, knowledge, and experience in order to help improve the quality of the concept note and increase the probability of the concept note to translate into a successful fundraising or implementation project. Another objective of this peer review is to, at this point, already confirm the consistency of the proposed concept notes or proposed project with the UN Habitat mandate, and that it's aligned to the strategic plan of UN Habitat and the current work program and the priorities of the current work program. Who's responsible? In step two, there are quite a few people here. So it will depend on who are you? Are you the peer reviewer or the PCO program development team or the PCO project cycle management team or the manager, the project manager? Uh, Now, if you are the peer reviewer, like I said, you're the main people for step two. And as a peer reviewer, you are required to provide objective and constructive comments, input and advice and information to the submitted concept notes. At this stage, you are required to consider and advise on the possibility for integrated programming. Also, for those two exempted projects, remember peer review is done virtually, but for innovative projects or programs and for large programs, there would be a face to face. So, should this be any of those two, you would need to sign attendance register during the meeting. Um, to just mention quickly the timeline for here, the timeline is that when the peer reviewers receive the concept note, he or she is required to provide comment within 3 days of receiving the concept note. Now, the PCO development team acts um, to support the program division director. So he or she acts as an advisor to the program division director, and he or she is expected to review objectively all concept notes with specific reasons to go look for specific objectives. And one of these is to identify at this early on stage strategic projects or programs and advise the divisional director in case such is seen and be able to alert and advise on the way forward on that. Also, the PCO development team person also is expected to advise the project manager on the alignment of the concept note to UN Habitat mandate or strategic plan or the work program in case it's not exactly very evident in the concept note, and also to alert the director of program division to this, particularly where the project manager may not be that willing to incorporate the advice. Also, the PCO development team is expected to identify opportunity for integrated projects or programs, and not just to identify it but to also support that integration and bring together the necessary group, the team, to and facilitate the process for the integration. And lastly, the PCO development team um, is required to provide other strategic comments that they find relevant or useful for either the director PD or the project manager. Now, again, in step two, the PCO project cycle management team. Remember, this is previously referred to as a PAG secretary. He or she has a role at step two because he or she is also a peer reviewer. So he or she is required to provide comments on the concept notes, and advise the project manager on various aspects to ensure that a quality document comes out of it at the later on. Um, he or she consolidates and send comments from all peer reviewers that have been received and upload the same in past. Right now, this is done offline, but in the future, the plan is that making comments and concept note, in fact, even from the submission of concept notes and also the making of comment, the consolidation of comments will all be done through pass. So there'll be no need for this manual consolidation of comments. The comment made would be available for all peer reviewers to see during and even after the project has gone through approval. Again, the PCO project cycle management is required to circulate attendance register in the case of the large or innovative projects or programs. And then the minutes of such meeting is should be uploaded in pass. Uh, Now to the designer and to the manager. The project manager is required in step 2 to have submitted a concept note that has integrated all lesson learned and also needs to commence the ESSS analysis and review at this point. It's not necessary to provide it yet, but that needs to commence. And so, because it will be needed in step 3. Also, the project manager, needs to follow up because he or she owns the project's concept note. So he or she needs to follow up with colleagues to ensure that he or she receives sufficient input to the concept note because it's a support provided to him or her in the process to ensure that a good quality document is achieved. And the project manager closes or is required to close a peer review after 3 days. So it's not an endless wait. He or she needs to close the process after 3 days and then use whatever has been received at the end of the 3 days to support the enhancing of the concept note and in producing a project document. However, if the project manager feels that okay, I haven't received enough comments or I like what comment that is coming in and I think I'd like to hear more, he or she can extend the date, but it would have to be communicated so that colleagues can know that they've got more days to be able to provide comments as it. Now, the project manager, and this is quite important, is required to objectively review all comments received from colleagues and incorporate these comments into the development of the project documents. He or she will be required to provide justification for comments that have not been considered, and this will be required in the submission later on for the PAG. The project manager is encouraged to have bilateral discussions with relevant peer reviewers if necessary. For example, if some comments have been received and it's not clear, or you may wish to ask for clarification, or even is interested in case the peer reviewer has got great ideas. Bilateral discussion is encouraged to ensure that you get the best out of colleagues in this regard.
For step 2, the system here that we are proposing with your offline Word document is a simple email out to your peer reviewers, and a proposed list is in the annexes of the user guide, and we've also created mailing lists of experts which we will take you through towards the end of the training. As we'd mentioned earlier, we are eventually hoping that this will be done in the past with a workflow and some audit trail. So the template to provide the peer review comments for the concept note can be done in multiple ways. You can insert comments directly into the Word document. You can use track changes in the concept note or provide comments in the body of an email to the project designer manager, or you can even provide a write-up as a Word document if you prefer. The output of this stage are twofold. You'll have the consolidated comments and inputs from all the peer reviewers to help enhance the concept note, and the next stage is optional. The minutes of the face-to-face peer review meeting for concept notes that qualify for this. At step 2, since the project is still quite in its early stage, you would have noticed that we haven't really gone into the parallel processes for the supporting work streams, i.e. the grant contribution or the finance budget, cash loan portion. At this stage, you can continue your negotiation and discussions with your potential donors, the market intelligence and scoping, and you can start beefing up your project budget based on the comments received at this stage.
The comments and inputs provided at this step by our internal experts and peer reviewers will be used to enhance the concept note to develop further into an abridged or full project document. Please note that the minutes of the face-to-face peer review meeting, if applicable, are required to be submitted along with the abridged project document for the PAG technical review.